A little, yeah. Nate told me 2 questions. Shoot.
Well,
How do you know Grant McCaslin?
Just in the business, I mean, I think we first met. I was a young assistant at Gonzaga, and he was actually a young assistant at Midland College. And back in the day, assistants, in Division I programs, I mean, you do a lot of the legwork for recruiting, and junior college coaches, not only recruit players, their players get recruited. So you kind of cross paths going down there, and looking at some of their players over the years. And I think we'd signed a couple kids from Midland back in the day. So that's where we first got to meet each other and became friends.
Did it stay close enough to where you wanted him on your staff for Team USA?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, with the staff stuff, I mean, he was, he was one of the they told me that was their suggestion. I mean, a lot of times to be involved in USA basketball, there's some small criteria. You have to be a head coach for one, and I think they like you to have participated in some of their past tryouts and things like that. So I think he had checked both boxes. So it just worked out good.
I thought maybe once you get picked as a head coach, do they ask you for any input? Hey, who would you like?
I mean,
to see?
they give the suggestion, and they say, do you know this guy? Would you like to work with him? And obviously, when they gave the suggestion, I was like, yeah, I don't know, maybe I would like. No, I'm joking. Of course, we'll work together, and we had a great time.
Did you have a relationship with Shrewsbury as well?
I did not have one with Micah. No, but he was a great guy, and that was as much fun as anything. It's just the interactions you're able to have with other coaches, and got to know Micah really well, and you're kind of on a 3-week expedition, where it's just kind of you against the world, so to speak. So you have a lot of time together. So it was a lot of fun to hang out with those guys.
Yeah, and you said he said you went to was it a clinic in Ethiopia or someplace or
Nigeria, yeah.
How did that? And did you guys really bond there, or did you already know him at that point?
Yeah, we knew. I had an opportunity to go do like a coaching clinic over there, and this is way back in the day, and they wanted me to bring like a junior college coach. So, it was organized, through Masai Ujiri, who's the president of the Toronto Raptors now. He was kind of the guy who organized it. So, Grant and I went with Masai and a few other people, and had an awesome experience.
What jumps off the page first when you look at Texas Tech?
I mean, they're gritty. They're gritty. They're tough. They may not be, physical stature may not be big, but they're physical. They're just well drilled. They know what wins for them, and they're able to force you to react to those situations, and they're not afraid to do something over and over again. Which when you're good at it, you can kind of like as we counter, they can counter, so they do a good job of kind of playing the chess match a little bit, and they're just really sound at both ends of the floor. Obviously, their analytics obviously jump off the page. They're, the number one rebounding team, in offensive rebounding team in the Big 12, which says something. I mean, you think of the teams in this conference in rebounding, they're the number one team right now, which, maybe, if you're just watching them and not really analyzing them, you wouldn't know, but that really stands out.
Tommy, we're seeing you guys get Trey the ball a little bit more on the elbow, higher, that's allowing him maybe more freedom to move to the basket. What do you like about what you're seeing with that?
Well, I mean, and I think Trey's really coming on. I mean, I think Trey, obviously played in a great program. And every program has its own idiosyncrasies and differences. He played in a program where they called a lot of set plays and really directed the ball. We don't really direct the ball as much. We're hoping that there's pace, there's movement, player movement, ball movement, and the ball's finding guys in good situations. And so I think he's figuring that out with us. Where he can kind of pick and choose and find his spots. And I've encouraged him to do so. And so, I think he's really coming on, and he's been really steady, and, I feel really comfortable with how he's been contributing the last few games.
You have a team like Tech, a little smaller, but they're, like you said, they're super successful in the offensive class. What do you see that allows them to be so successful there?
Well, I mean, I think a lot of it's just effort and persistence. I mean, offensive rebounding is one of those things. If you go 1 out of 10 times, you may or may not get the ball. Even if you get the ball, you're a bad offensive rebounder. If you go 9 out of 10 times and you may not get the ball, but then the next 10 times, if you go 9 out of 10 times, you might get 5 of them. So there's a persistence to offensive rebounding and a consistency you need to have, and they have that. You know, I mean, they've done a really good job with their guys, you know, identifying their roles and you know, holding guys accountable to do their job. And to me, that's what a lot of offensive rebounding is.
Obviously, Tommy, the big fella from Baylor got into some early foul trouble, which kind of contributed to his numbers being down. What do you like also about what your team did to keep him off the board?
Well, I mean, I think we, you know, matched his level of physicality, especially early in the game, you know, which is important to do. And, you know, just you just had, we had an attentiveness that situation required. I mean, he's a beast on the glass, and I thought our guys did a good job of that, you know. And, you know, the Central Florida game, we didn't do a great job on the offensive glass. I think they, you know, had a lot of offensive rebounds, and I think they scored 23 points on them, you know, which, you know, allowed them to kind of, you know, stay in the game a little bit longer than we would have liked. So, you know, I mean, hey, I mean, we make no bones about it. Rebounding's important. It's something that you've got to do every day, every game, if you want to be competitive. So, again, you know, we have another team that's obviously a great rebounding team, especially on the offensive end. So we gotta, it's got to have our full attention.
When we had Scott Drew in here the other night, he said the atmosphere here, that's how everything is in the Big 12. So did you feel that when you were out at Cincinnati and West Virginia?
Yeah, I mean, they were great atmospheres, you know.
Even with the weather in West Virginia, I'm sure.
I mean, you know, there was a lot of, you know, the crowd wasn't like over sold out, but there was a lot of people there, and you know, and you know, they're probably not as weather sensitive as us Arizonans are. You know, I mean, snow, they probably still get in their car and drive. I mean, look, Bruce drove in the snow, and if Bruce can drive in the snow, maybe anybody can, right? I'm joking. Bruce he's a mountain man. He's a skier and a mountain man. He's comfortable up there, so.
Texas Tech, Ken Palm listed as the second toughest home court advantage in the country. I don't know how they rate that and all that, but I mean, you're expecting that kind of environment?
100%. 100%. I mean, I don't know how they rate it either. It don't matter to me how they rate it. I know it's going to be tough, and I know we got to go in, and we got to be road tough, and you know, nothing less is going to be you know, acceptable to get the job done.
You mentioned the other night that Henry's part of the opposing team scouting report now. How do you prepare him for that, I guess?
Well, I'm on him. I'm letting him know that, you know, just because you've had a recent, you know, you've been trending in the right direction recently, doesn't mean it's going to continue. You know, I mean, there's what's the old deal, the regression to the mean. We got to figure out what his mean is, you know, and hopefully his mean's pretty high. And so I've really been on him to, you know, to not take things for granted, to not think it's just going to happen, because, you know, inevitably, you know, there's going to be a game or two at some point where it probably doesn't go his way. But I think, you know, if he continues to do the things that have made him successful, I think he's got a chance to be a consistent performer, and I really like consistent performers.
One more so I can keep us going. So go ahead, Bruce.
Well, I wanted to ask you just a little about, well, just following up on Grant, you said you met when he was an assistant. Were you actually, the first time you contacted him, was that about a recruit he had that you were recruiting?
I mean, Bruce, we're talking 20 plus years. I don't remember the first conversation. I don't even know if I had a cell phone, but you know, it was involved around basketball, and then we just became really good friends, you know, from there, and have continued that relationship for a long time.
He said, too, that he joked at Media Day that he learned your plays during the USA, but he runs more plays than you, right? Like,
I don't know. I mean, I don't know. That's the educated eye will tell. I don't know. I mean, we'll see. You know, yeah, he does probably. I'm sure he's really familiar with what we do. So, you know, which is fine. Because at the end of the day, if he's familiar or not familiar, we still got to go out and execute it.
Did you ever think when you meet guys like that, you're younger, do you ever think someday you're going to be both head coaches of high major programs playing each other in a conference?
I mean, I don't think we ever had that conversation, you know, directly. You know, he obviously became a head coach sooner than I have. I mean, he's been a head coach at a number of places and been successful everywhere he's been. I just, you know, I'm new to this, so I'm figuring it out still.
One final thing,
Yeah,
Nate, sorry.
yeah.
The NCAA said the exhibitions now you can play other D1 teams. Do you anticipate doing that, or do you
I
guys?
mean, we're going to look at it. I mean, we had literally a 30-second conversation on it yesterday. We're 100% focused on this road trip, starting with Texas Tech. So we didn't make any phone calls or talk about potential exhibition games. But I do appreciate the flexibility. I mean, I think you should have some flexibility there, because, I mean, at the end of the day, as a coach, you like a little freedom to do what's best for your program to prepare your team for the season. Thank you, guys.